So at the end of my I am not a gamer video, I said this. The age-old question. PlayStation, Xbox, or PC? And I got some answers, but I also got a lot of freaking out in the comments. Like, why didn't you talk about Nintendo? Why are you only talking about Xbox and PlayStation? What about Nintendo? I like Nintendo. I guess Nintendo doesn't matter. Nintendo. Which is funny because while editing that video, I thought to myself, I didn't mention Nintendo at all. I should probably add a little amendum into the video information in case there are some people that really like their Wiis and they want to side with Nintendo. And even though I added that to the information of the video before I posted it, some of you were basically yelling at me because I didn't mention Nintendo. Yelling. But here's the thing. It's always been PlayStation versus Xbox, Sony versus Microsoft. Nintendo just isn't relevant anymore, and here's why. The Super Nintendo was a big deal. It was a huge deal. There were companies that paid top dollar to have their game put out on the SNES. And down the line, the Nintendo 64 was very successful, but then when the first Sony PlayStation came out, it completely changed the game because games for that console were on a disc, which would hold a lot more information than a cartridge and was actually cheaper for Sony to produce than cartridge games. So PlayStation ended up stealing a gigantic chunk of the market, and the Sega Saturn came out, but who even remembers that? The PS2 introduced DVD gaming, and the Xbox introduced hard drives and online gaming. And then later, the PS3 and the Xbox 360 focused more on online gaming, and downloadable content is all the rage now. Meanwhile, Nintendo came out with the GameCube, which basically had no innovation, and the Wii, which I'll talk about later. In the beginning, every Nintendo console, one right after another, was just making strides with innovation. Atari consoles used joysticks, the NES created joypads, the SNES added shoulder buttons, the N64 added the analog stick. All of these additions made the gameplay more fun, and it was easy. It was really easy to play. It was like muscle memory. You already knew how to use it. It was very intuitive. But the GameCube and the Wii just basically did nothing at all to enhance the gaming. The GameCube literally changed nothing except it used those little tiny discs. Woo! And the Wii has motion controls, but it's basically just a gimmick. I don't really think the gaming community cares about motion control. And Sony and Microsoft have both dabbled a little bit in motion control, but none of those have even really sold well for them. Let me be very clear in saying, just because something is different does not mean that it's better. And you could say, Travis, I own a Wii. It is so much fun. I get to bowl with my grandmother who is confined to a wheelchair. And to that, I say, you were not the appropriate cross-section for the question that I asked. The whole point of the question was PlayStation versus Xbox. The thing is, the Wii and the DS have sold well enough, but Nintendo refuses to look at the numbers of the other companies. They think they're untouchable, but they're currently getting crushed. Sure, Nintendo has flagships like Zelda and Mario, but if they keep grinding those games into the ground with these consoles, do you really think that the gamers are going to keep playing these games? In my opinion, Nintendo consoles haven't been relevant since the tail end of the N64, but I mean, who knows? You could love your Wii, you could even love your GameCube. Let me know what you think about this whole console debacle in the comments down below, and you'll see me tomorrow.